Good morning, it's Thursday the 27th of June. This is the Chelsea Daft vlog and I'm back after a couple of days working long hours. I do have a full-time job as well as trying to do this. Just a word to say thank you so much for everyone that's subscribed so far. If you haven't, hit the subscribe button and the like button for me and the bell to make sure you get notified when the videos come out. There's plenty to feature today and we still wait on Frank. Hopefully it'll be today. Let's get straight into it. So everyone, as usual, this is my website if you've never seen it before. It's chelseadaft.org. On there featured is my last couple of vlogs and my article, Will Frank Lampard be given the time that he needs to be successful at Chelsea? That's chelseadaft.org. So to Chelsea, an official news last night that Jay Da Silva has signed for Bristol City on a permanent deal, having spent the last season on loan there. It's unclear as to how much they've actually paid for Da Silva, but I'm sure Chelsea have made a tidy profit. He played 32 games for him last season. He's only 21. He's a left wing back. He can play on the wing. He can play as a fullback. It's a shame that he couldn't quite break through at the bridge, but fair play to Chelsea and to Da Silva. He wants to go and play regular football. And looks as though Chelsea got some decent money for him. So to news this morning, Chelsea have reached agreement with Real Madrid over the permanent transfer of on-loan midfielder Mateo Kovacic, which would be allowed despite the ban. Now, he's already registered from when we signed him on loan last season, so he can sign on a permanent contract. And it looks as though you're talking about 50 million. Now, a lot of people are giving Kovacic some stick, and I do understand that people are looking for our midfielders to be box-to-box, to score goals, to create goals. I do understand that. But you have to have a look at Kovacic and the way that he plays. He's a grafter. He's a workhorse. He's someone that will get across that pitch and work his bum off to win that ball back or to create an opening, to give the ball to somebody else to go and do the final third work. I mean, look at Kovacic, the influence he had in that Europa League final. It proved exactly what he's in the team for, and he was outstanding. Maybe under the right stewardship of Frank Lampard, who, as we all know, was one of the best box-to-box midfielders out there, I wonder if we'd be able to get even more from Kovacic to enhance his game and take it to the next level. But it looks as though Chelsea are going to sign Kovacic on a permanent deal. 50 million is being touted. So to Callum Hudson-Odoi, who's hoping to hand him Frank Lampard a huge boost as being back as early as September. Now, as we all know, he ruptured his Achilles in April and he was told that he'd be out for 6 months at least. It looks as though, as I featured the other day, his training and his rehabilitation is well on track, and if anything, it's gone above and beyond what was expected. And it looks as though he could be back early September, missing only the first few games of the season, which will be fantastic news for Chelsea, for the Chelsea fans, and for Frank Lampard. So to Tammy Abraham, who's openly spoken the other day about the fact that he's excited with Frank Lampard coming in, and finally the academy players being brought into the team. And this article that was posted yesterday in The Sun, Chelsea are banking on Tammy Abraham to score Premier League goals, but he's never scored against a top 10 team. The way you gain experience, and the only way you can score goals against the top 10 if you're given the opportunity. And it looks as though Tammy Abraham will be given that opportunity. We know that Olivier Giroud has signed a contract extension for 1 year, so he's going to be here. And it looks as though Michy Batshuayi could be back. And Tammy Abraham, 3 into 1 or 3 into 2? This is the question. But it looks as though Tammy Abraham is going to get his chance finally in the first team. And what do you think he can do? I mean, he scored 26 goals in 40 games for Villa last season in the Championship. Can he replicate that form straight away in the Premier League, or will it take time? Another article featured in The Sun is Chelsea's forgotten man Danny Drinkwater could make a miraculous comeback in the Champions League campaign after our transfer ban. Now, as we all know, Danny Drinkwater was frozen out by Maurizio Sarri and to a certain extent by Antonio Conte. I don't understand it. I mean, anyone that follows English football will know that the guy is decent. You don't just play in the midfield next to N'Golo Conte in the Leicester team that won the Premier League and have nothing about you. Danny Drinkwater offers plenty, in my view. And he is somebody that can play alongside N'Golo Conte in a two. If Frank Lampard, when he eventually gets confirmed, comes in and plays a 4-2-3-1, Drinkwater and Conte next to each other, as they did for Leicester, I don't see that being a big problem. It will then allow the likes of Loftus-Cheek or Barkley to play as a number 10, with Pulisic and Willian on either side, with one striker up front, or it gives you option to play 4-4-2. Danny Drinkwater is going to come back in. I mean, basically, the article stating that we need him in the squad for the Champions League, because the Champions League and the UEFA rules claim that out of the 25 players registered for the competition, 8 have to be trained by the clubs of the same league between the ages of 15 and 21, and 4 of those got to come from the club's own youth system. Chelsea are lacking numbers at the minute, homegrown numbers, and Danny Drinkwater will come straight back into the fold. I'm sure that he will. I'm sure that Frank Lampard can see his value to the squad and maybe to the first team next season. So to the Express, and they're predicting that Chelsea will offer new contracts to 3 players once Frank Lampard is confirmed as the manager. The players that will be offered new deals will be Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Mason Mount and Reece James, who could all be a part of the setup at Chelsea this coming season. That'll be good to see. If Chelsea can get those 3 tied down and look to the future, which is what they're obviously going to be doing with Frank Lampard and Jody Morris coming in, a period of change for the next 2 or 3 seasons, then that'll be a step forward. So to Lampard and the expected announcement that he is going to sign for Chelsea. He's been agreed a deal, which we'll go into very shortly. But the Derby owner, Mel Morris, has actually spoken about Frank Lampard. And I have to say, the guy is different class, Mel Morris. He's been brilliant for Derby. He was brilliant for Frank Lampard. The way he speaks at the moment about the situation where it could go nasty, let's be honest, has been great. And he said he does admit it's a bittersweet season for him because it hastened the inevitable knock on the door from Roman Abramovich's Blues. He said, when Frank and me met for the first time, we talked about this opportunity, and even then we knew at some stage it was going to happen. We just didn't know when. So we talked about that, and we both probably thought it would be some way off. If Frank had done a poor job at Derby, it wouldn't be happening. That makes it a double whammy. We're going to have a tough time ahead if Frank goes, no question. You don't have to give it permission. But the situation is this. When we interviewed Frank originally, we talked about this very eventuality. At some stage, Frank is probably going to want to manage at Chelsea. If you become obstructed in this situation, it's not going to bode well for the future. So for that perspective, there was always a risk. But you couldn't have predicted that would happen with them having a manager moving on with their transfer ban. There's a whole raft of different things that bring this opportunity. And I think that's fair play. I mean, he's talking about the deal, and at the moment he said, let's face it, right now it's still not a done deal. Let's be blunt. As far as I'm concerned, I'm hoping this guy is going to manage us next season. I'm not giving up hope on that at the moment, but you have to say at some point it will happen, whether it's now or some point in the future. For Frank Lampard, it's win-win. He can't lose in this situation. It's one of the top jobs. As we all know, yesterday news broke that a deal had been agreed with Lampard, and that was confirmed in The Sun. Frank Lampard set to work at Chelsea next week after agreeing a £16.5 million 3-year contract with Chelsea, which is amazing. He's on the same terms as Maurizio Sarri, £5.5 million a season. Frank Lampard has found the prospect of leading the club where he played for 13 years too tempting to resist, and as we've seen, Derby will not stand in his way. Now, I just want to feature one of these articles that appeared over the course of a few days ago. Now, as we know, the Chelsea legends played Real Madrid legends. And The Sun, Neil Ashton, the chief football writer for The Sun, was basically saying that Jody Morris was invited to play, but he dodged the game because he wanted to avoid an awkward reunion with Gianfranco Zola, because it looks as though Gianfranco Zola will be demoted when Frank Lampard comes in. Now, there's more on the Zola situation. There's Zola featuring this past weekend. He still looks decent. He still looks match fit, doesn't he? And it's predicting that Zola will have a restricted role under Frank Lampard. There was a report that featured yesterday that I saw on social media saying that he'd been offered an ambassador role, which he turned down. Zola will be at Chelsea in some capacity, but at the moment it's unclear what that's going to be. I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens. So to Frank Lampard's predicted appointment in the coming day or days, and John Terry weighed in with his thoughts on the situation, having just signed a new 2-year contract at Aston Villa as the assistant manager, and he was speaking of the situation and of Frank Lampard becoming Chelsea manager, and he said, after the season he's had with Derby and with Chelsea's transfer ban in place, there is no one better equipped than Frank to succeed. It's perfect timing for him and the club. Frank was under pressure to succeed at Chelsea the day he arrived from West Ham, and he never hid from that. He revelled in it and went on to become Chelsea's greatest ever player. What made him that player was his desire to drain every ounce of his body and that of everyone around him in training. Then when he's done, he'd go out and practice free kicks and shooting on his own for another half an hour. People would be amazed at his goal return. They just didn't realise how much dedication was put into that in his whole game. He's just exacting on himself now as a manager. Lamps is a legend, and now is the right time for him to come home. Roman is a successful businessman because he's so demanding, but Frank will demand nothing less from himself. So finally to the Sun, and they're predicting the situation with how Chelsea could line up next season with Jorginho and Emerson out of the squad. Now, obviously we know that there's interest in Emerson, and we expect Juventus to come in for Jorginho. So, the Sun, this was before the Jada Silva deal was announced. So this was posted up yesterday morning. So in goal, you've got Kepa and Caballero. Left back, Alonso, does say De Silva, but that will change. That will more likely be Emerson. Lewis and Christensen, Rudiger and Tomori, Azpilicueta and Reece James. Ross Barkley, Danny Drinkwater, N'Golo Conte and Ampadu. Mason Mount, Rubens Loftus-Cheek, Willian Hudson-Odoi, Giroud, Abraham, Pulisic and Pedro. It's decent. You have to say it's decent, and it does include the youngsters. Finally, as I'm recording this video, it's 9:33 this morning, and this is the Chelsea Twitter account. Still no mention of anything at the moment. So that's it from me today, Thursday the 27th of June. This has been the Chelsea Daft Vlog. Let me know what you think about anything featured in this video. Post your comments below or on my website. And if you're watching this on YouTube or on my website, hit that YouTube button and subscribe. If you're watching it on the website, to take you straight to YouTube. If you're watching this on my channel, then please hit that like button. Also subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the bell for notifications. Thank you so much for watching. We wait for Frank Lampard. I'm recording this video, as I say, early this morning, so there'll probably be an announcement. This video is coming out at 12 today, lunchtime. If there'll be an announcement after that point, it'll be all featured tomorrow morning because, again, I do work full time. If you want to support my channel, head to patreon.com/ChelseaDar for more information, where your name can be featured at the end of these videos in the closing credits that would follow this little section. Thanks for watching. See you all tomorrow.